Let's begin in Midrand, where more congregants are returning to church today. Under level 1 lockdown, gatherings are allowed but limited to 100 people indoors and 250 people outdoors. Some religious leaders, however, feel that's not fair. They say they should at least be allowed to fill their venues by 50%. To look into how churches are complying, our reporter Lindokuhle Xulu joins us from Midrand. Lindo, I see the church service has already concluded, so this is, an indication that they are following the regulation restrictions in terms of not being indoors for a long time.
That's right, Maseko. You'd remember that there is a limited time that churches can convene and carry out some of the services. And this is all part of the COVID-19 regulations under Alert Level 1. They are allowed, of course, to operate at this time, 100 people inside and 250 outside. But, of course, the pastors have, in fact, religious leaders have, in fact, raised concerns about that, saying that some churches can actually allow for more capacity in terms of the numbers that they've been allocated. But what we want to do right now is just to speak to one of the families that has come out to church for the first time. In 3 months' time, I guess, this church has opened. But just to get a sense, Maseko, of how they are feeling. The COVID-19 regulations had been followed here. We were party to that, seeing that. But just how do you feel about it? I'll ask you to introduce your family first, but then take me through how you feel about some of the measures put in place to guard against COVID-19 here at the church.
Thank you very much, Lindo. As you can see, I have to speak through a mask because we have to. My name is Romeo, this is my wife, and this is our family. Today was the first day after a very long time for us to come to church, and I must say that, looking around, you can see some of the precautions that have been taken. The chairs are social distanced, we sanitize our hands, we take temperatures and so on, just to make sure that there is no one who's at risk of being infected. And so also what the religious leaders do, they of course encourage people to come to church, but those who are not in a condition to come, those with comorbidities, so they can stay at home and so on. So yeah, I like to say it's quite safe actually.
I know we wanted to speak about just the role that church plays in many people's lives. But first, before I move on to that one, there is the call that capacity can be extended in terms of allowing 50% of the church's capacity and not just putting 100 people in each and every venue. But with the regulations and with the measures taken here, do you feel confident that can also be achieved in the near future if it is allowed?
I'm quite confident that it can be achieved because different churches have got different size, capacity. So some churches which can seat 1,000 people, for example, they could easily seat 300 people, social distance and so on. So I believe that we should actually use a percentage or proportion or ratio to fill in the churches, not an absolute number, because the number, it all depends on circumstances. People need to be in church for a number of reasons. Number one, if you're a believer, the Bible actually admonishes us to fellowship with fellow believers. So we need to be in church for that reason, but also for our emotional well-being, we need to be in church, and for our spiritual well-being. So I'm quite confident that we are ready, actually, because the church is quite responsible when it comes to making sure that we fulfill the regulations, we follow every single rule that is out there. So I'd like to concur that we are ready.
Okay, well, you've covered it all, and live on TV, I'll ask if my two ladies here would want to say something. Guys, do you want to say something about how you feel being at church for the first time after such a long time? I guess, Maseko, I guess that has taken time away from their cartoons. But thank you so much, guys, for speaking to us. Those are some of the attendees here just taking us through how they feel. They are confident that due to what they've seen today, it will be a possibility to just allow for more people to come to church, but also just bearing in mind the capacity of each and every church and not just giving them one number to say that 100 people inside and 250 people outside without taking into account the capacity of a certain church. Maseko.
All right, Lindo, let's leave it there. Lindokuhle Xulu coming to us live from a church in Midrand.